Hello, welcome to Pike Creek Farm. My name is Renee and I'm so happy to have you here today. Today we're going to do one of my favorite things. We're going to can. And it's part of Canuary. And Canuary is the best collab of the year in my opinion. I always love it. I love watching all the videos. And I am so honored to have been asked by Lisa Sutton at SuttonsDaze, who organizes this whole collab, to participate this year. And what you have to look forward to is a new video every day, a new canning video, water bath, steam canning, pressure canning, jams, jellies, meats, you name it, we're gonna make it. And you can follow along and refer back to this and make some wonderful, jarred food for your family, some wonderful meals. And Lisa has done so much work with this and it's just amazing. She has a sponsor. ForJars is sponsoring again this year. They joined last year and I use their lids pretty much exclusively. They now have a new pressure canner. They have donated some amazing prizes that will be given away on January 31st, including a pressure canner. And Lisa is being so generous and giving away some prizes too, including another pressure canner and a steam canner. So this is just a wonderful collab. You're going to get amazing recipes, the opportunity to watch all these wonderful videos. What I am going to do today is pressure canning. I did not pressure can until like 5 years ago. And now it's my favorite thing to do. Out of all the canning, I love pressure canning the most. I can't believe that I was hesitant, that I thought I wouldn't like pressure canned meat. Well, I love it and it is now my fast food. I can make dinner so fast when I get home from work and it's good and it's faster than ordering pizza and having it delivered. Saves me money too. But what I'm doing is coming from this book. This is my favorite canning book. I like the blue book too, ball blue book, but this one I do so many from. And this is from the Simple Jar Meals. And what I like about these is you can do a small batch canning. This will make 4 pints, but you can double it or triple it or quadruple it to make more. But I like that it gives the measurements and options for small batch canning. There's just 2 of us here, so that works out really nice. And what I'm gonna do today is the pot roast in a jar. I've done it before. I've done it with venison and Jim loves it. And I'm gonna do it in pints because Jim will take these pints and take with him when he goes fishing or camping and I'm not with him. All he has to do is dump this out, heat it up over the fire, and he has an entire meal. I'm gonna be using a Presto 23 quart pressure canner today. You could use a smaller one since we're doing a small batch. I just have the one, so that's the one I'm using. I have my water in it. It takes 3 quarts, and I have a shelf in the bottom. You always want to have a shelf in the bottom. That's really important. I also have a pot that I have put some beef broth in to heat up. We're going to need beef broth to top off this. So this recipe is raw packed, but you do put warm broth on it. So I have my water heating up because I don't want to, the jar is going to get warm from the broth and I don't want to put it into ice cold water. I do not have it on very high. I don't want it to be boiling. Now I've started to prep some of my ingredients because you don't want to watch me prep them all. I have 2 pounds of chuck roast that I have trimmed the biggest pieces of fat off of, and they are in like 2-inch chunks. So I have those in a bowl. I have 1 cup of carrots, and I had baby carrots from the holidays that need to be used up, so I am using them. Normally I would use regular carrots, whole carrots, these are still carrots, but you have to peel them. You have to peel any root vegetables. So that brings me to the next ingredient, potatoes. So I'm gonna peel these fast and bring you back I'm gonna dice them up. I need 1 cup of potatoes diced up. It was 1 cup of carrots, 2 pounds of chuck roast. Now we want 1 cup of peeled and diced potatoes. I don't want the potato bites to be, the dices to be too small because, you know, they're supposed to be a bite. The carrots are supposed to be sliced, so I did them that size. This does have a measure on the side. We need a 1/2 cup, so that should be about right. Oh, so it can be a little generous actually. The next thing is, let me double check. It is 1 cup of onion. So I'll do 1/2 at a time, and this onion should be is we combine the ingredients into a large bowl. So here's my meat, onions. I'm gonna break up any onions that are like sticking together. That's just personal. I'm sure when I stir. Potato, celery, garlic. 2 teaspoons of salt. This is canning salt. We need 1 teaspoon of ground pepper, and I'm going to use half that amount. I find that their amounts for black pepper are a little strong for our family taste. So I'm going to put a 1/2 teaspoon. And I like pepper, but I think the process with canning, it becomes stronger. 2 bay leaves. You know what, and actually I'm not going to add the bay leaf in here. I'm going to add a little bit in each jar to make sure it goes in each jar, like a 1/2. So that I'm going to hold off on. 2 teaspoons of dried thyme. And I'm going to do 1 1/2. I do love thyme, but I don't want it to be overpowering. Then it calls for, this is optional, 1 cup of red wine. I am going to do a 1/2 cup. I do like dry red wine in some things with beef, but I don't want it to be overly tasting of the wine. So I'm going to cut it back in 1/2. Now we are going to mix this all up. And this meat will become so tender. It is amazing. So I'm going to get out the jars now and we will start filling them. Okay, here's my lids, my 4-jar lids. And I did put them in water and heat them up according to the directions. Okay, I have 4 pints. You can also do this in quarts. We are going to fill these to the 1-inch mark. And I always use my as MouseToes would say, Pokey Joe, the debubbler, because it has the measurements on it. So it always helps me. But basically it's like right below this big seam there. Now I'm going to put the bay leaf in each one. And I'm just going to put a part of one. It's not like I want it to be overwhelmingly bay leaf flavored, but bay leaf does give a lot of flavor to a broth especially. So now we're going to take our meat mixture and put in the jar. And you kind of want to make it evenly distributed. Let me get my funnel. That will help, the funnel. You know, you want to make sure you have carrots and meat and potatoes in all of them. that's going to be too much. So, my jars are warm from the dishwasher. So now we're going to add the beef broth. Going to debubble. You might be able to fit some more broth or some more of the pot roast, the stew. Check the measurement and it looks spot on. I have a little container filled with white vinegar. When I process anything with meat, I wipe the edge with vinegar. It cuts through the grease better. Works great with sugar too. So make sure you check that there are no nicks, nothing stuck on there. This smells very good. Put my lid on. And when the ring stops, you stop twisting. Just finger tight. Because you want the air to be able to evacuate out as it's going under pressure. That's what we're doing. We're creating a vacuum seal in there and that air has to escape. So here's one jar ready to go in on the rack. So let's fill another one. January 31st will be really fun, the giveaway. It's always a fun time and some people are going to win some great prizes. But, you know, to me, the real winning part of this is the whole canning community coming together and bringing great ideas. I always get new ideas and things I want to try. I appreciate all of the collaborators. And you know, it's a great way to find a new favorite channel too. I have done that quite often. It's like, oh, I didn't know that channel existed. So, and if this is your first time here to Pike Creek, well, thank you so much for watching. I like to do videos on canning, on vintage recipes, cooking and baking, and just life here on Pike Creek Farm. It's our 8 acres. We have chickens and dogs and just a good life that I'm very thankful for. Okay. Will that poke down? Looks good. Wipe that lid. You know, these spices can get on that lid and that can prevent a seal. Something as simple as that. Get my lid out of the warm water. This was actually my mom's. Because you always had to heat up your lids back in the day when she was canning. And she gave it to me when she moved to Florida. Let me get this last jar over here too. I don't know, we might have a little bit much. I think we're going to be pretty close actually. Push down. So this is all that's left. Now I'm going to put this wine sauce in the broth there. I'm not going to use the rest of this broth. And for broth, you can use home canned broth, store-bought broth. You can mix up your own broth, like with bouillon or something else like that that has safe ingredients. In quarters. If you're making this in quarts, you would also want to have the 1-inch headspace. You'd follow all the exact same process. It will make 2 quarts. Wipe that edge. And sometimes when I make stew or pot roast, or this is not on right, if it doesn't feel right, twist it off. Better put it back on. Be tight. So that's all 4 in here. Okay, here are my jars inside the canner. I'm going to turn the heat up, and you will learn from experience how your canner works, where's your sweet spot. And I use the weighted gauge. I do not follow the other gauge. This is what I use, the jiggler. You might have heard it referred to. The jiggler has made pressure canning so simplified for me. I feel much more confident doing it. It was a godsend. It was just a miracle when I discovered about the jiggler, this weighted gauge. And I'll show you how it works. But first we're gonna get our lid on and follow the directions for your canner. I mean, like, all Americans are different than the Presto, and there's Mirror. I think there's some other brands too, and there is the new ForJars one, which I think is pretty similar to the Presto. So, let me show you. Here's my lid. I always check it before I put it on. Make sure my seal is good, doesn't have any cracks or anything. I do have a spare seal up in a cabinet just in case. I make sure the lock is tight because this can come unscrewed. So I always make sure and that it's moving. The vent pipe, I can look through it, I blow through it just to make sure nothing's plugging it. And then this is your safety one. And I make sure that it's in there good and has no cracks. So now I'm going to line up this, there's like a V there. I don't know if you can see it right there. I'm going to line that up on the other handle and twist it and lock it. So now I'm going to turn the heat up a little, and this has to come up to pressure. Well, actually, it has to come up to temperature, I guess is a better way of doing it. And out of that vent pipe, it's going to start blowing steam. And you want it to be like a freight train. I mean, you want it to be blowing, not just sputtering. It has to be. And on my canner, my lock pops up. I will set the timer for 10 minutes when it starts going like that. And then we will, after 10 minutes is up, we put the little weighted gauge on and we wait for it to do a jiggle jiggle. When it's doing a little hula dance, it means it's up to pressure, and we set our timer. I have pints, so it's 75 minutes, 1 hour, 15 minutes. If you do quarts, it's 90 minutes. The usual meat times. So it's pretty simple. Once you do it a few times, it comes pretty simply. Okay, the lock popped up, and you can hear it, but you can't see it. It is, you can't see it. And here it starts. I'm going to turn the heat down About 4 on my stove keeps it at a nice hula, not going too crazy. And set a timer, whether it's on your phone, your stove, make sure to set a timer. So 75 minutes, 1 hour and 15 minutes. Timer went off. I'm going to turn off the burner and just let it go. Just let it set until the pressure goes all the way to 0. And that drops down, and then I let it set 5 minutes after that. And then I take that off and let it set 5 more minutes. I'm pretty cautious about it. Okay, it has stopped wiggling. The pressure's down to 0, and the lock has dropped. And I've let it wait for 5 minutes, so I am going to remove that. And no sound. That's a good thing. You don't want any whoosh. And now I'm just going to loosen the lock, and I need 2 hands for the next part. I'm just going to tilt it a little so that any steam can escape, and I'll wait 5-10 minutes and I will take it off. I removed the lid. Looks like there was some siphoning. I don't think it's too much though. I'm going to let the jars rest, and then I will bring them out in about 5-10 minutes. Here they are, all out, and I don't really see much siphoning. Maybe that first one. Now the water magnifies it. Maybe that back one a little. And they've all sealed already. So that is good news. So this will sit here overnight. Tomorrow I'll take the rings off, wash these with soapy warm water, label the tops, and put them down in my pantry. The recipe came from the all-new Ball Book of Canning, and I used 4-jar lids. And thank you, Lisa, for inviting me to Canuary. Please go check out SuttonsDaze and the playlist, and I will have all the information, all the channels, the schedule, everything down in my description box. And thank you so much for watching this video. I am so happy that you joined me here today, and we'll see you next time at Pike Creek Farm.